Welcome to the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast, hosted by your favourite duo, Stephen and Charlene. They're here to help you transform your mindset and create a positive outlook on life. Are you tired of feeling stuck and unfulfilled? Are you ready to take control of your thoughts and emotions and rewrite your story? Well, you're in the right place. They will be sharing inspiring stories, practical tips, and expert advice to help you on your journey to a better you. You'll learn how to let go of negative self-talk, embrace your strengths, and focus on the good things in life. Each episode will be joined by amazing guests who have rewritten their own life stories and are now living their best lives. From successful entrepreneurs to accomplished athletes, we'll bring you stories of resilience, courage, and triumph. So grab a cup of coffee, get cozy, and get ready to be inspired. Tune in every week for a new episode of the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast. Let's rewrite our stories together and make every day count.
In today's episode, we interview Lauren Jobson, who is an award-winning NLP Master Trainer, internationally certified Matrix Therapies Master Trainer and Coach. She has taught thousands of wonderful people around Australia that say she transcends age with her wisdom and guidance. Her certifying training school is Intuitive Heart Training Academy, Proprietary Limited, and she is the author of the newly published book on self-love, Your Happily Ever After. Join us as we explore her story.
Before we get started, we want to remind you that the information presented in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and their guests are their own and do not represent the views of any organisation or entity. Additionally, any information presented should not be taken as legal, medical, or financial advice. Always consult with a licensed professional in the respective field for any advice or guidance. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's dive into today's topic and learn how to transform our lives through positive thinking and taking control of our stories. Thanks for joining us.
Before we begin, we want to give you a heads up. We may be discussing some sensitive and personal topics that might bring up some strong emotions or discomfort. Our goal is to create a safe and supportive space, but we know that everyone's experiences and triggers are different. If you start feeling overwhelmed or triggered during an episode, remember to prioritize your well-being. It's totally okay to hit pause and take a break. Your self-care is important, and looking after your mental and emotional health should always come first. If you ever need extra support, we encourage you to reach out to a mental health professional or someone you trust. You're not alone, and there are resources available to help you on your personal journey. Thank you for joining us on this incredible ride with the Rewrite Your Life Story podcast. Together we'll navigate life's challenges and rewrite our narratives with strength and resilience.
Hey everyone, it's Stephen and Charlene from the Rewrite Your Story podcast, and today I am super excited. We have Lauren Jobson on the show today. Now, why am I excited? Because Lauren has had a major part in Charlene and my life.
Absolutely.
Like, Lauren is our go-to person when it comes to Neuro-Linguistic Programming and Matrix Therapies, which Charlene and I are certified in. However, Lauren was our trainer.
Absolutely.
And I remember we're talking over 12 years ago, Lauren, maybe 13 years ago. I remember Lauren coming to our house and doing NLP training one-on-one with Charlene, going through master practitioner course. And It was the best time.
Absolutely. So probably the best trainer that I've come across.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me here. So excited.
We're excited. So, Lauren, your journey, you've been in the personal development and the self-help industry for a long, long time. And we were privileged to witness you, and you had some really strong mentors along the way that have shaped that story. However, Lauren, take us right to the beginning, right to as a child, because I know that has so much to do with your story and your message today. So take us back to that time and how it led you on your journey.
Yeah, wow, cool. Well, how back in time in terms of when I was a toddler, right? So by the time I was 18 months old, in all seriousness, my biological father had moved on cheated on my mum, with another woman. And this was to become a pattern of his because he had gotten this next woman pregnant by the time I was 18 months old. And my mum always told me while I was growing up that I actually have 2 older sisters. So this man had 2 daughters with one woman, and then he moved on very quickly and had a son with another woman. And then he pursued my mum. She grew up in Australia, moved over to England at the time, and this was all happening in England. He pursued my mum, was with my mum for a while, actually to a point where my mum was looking after my 2 older sisters, and they were calling her mum as a mum figure. And we were a happy family, actually, at one point too, was the 2 girls, my 2 sisters, my father. We had 2 big dogs, my mum, and yes, I had this brother, right? And we took a trip to Australia, family trips, and we got photos of me as a baby coming back to Australia for a holiday. And by the time we'd gone back to England, and as I said, by the time I was 18 months, so not long after that family holiday, he'd started having this next affair. And when I was 27 years old, I found out how many more siblings I had out there in the world. Now, the beautiful thing for me is that after my mum decided to leave him, when she found out he was cheating on her, she did leave him. And this other man that my mum was getting to know over this time in England, he actually came and flew to Australia with a return ticket with the intention of asking my mum to come back with him and me, of course, as a baby. So it was a return ticket because I was free. See, I was still so little, he didn't need the plane ticket for me. And this man fell in love with my mum and me. And when he proposed to my mum, just before I was 2 years old, so it all happened actually quite quickly. It was said to be under Darling Harbour on a cruise. He said to my mum, "Nikki, will you do the honour of becoming my wife and allowing me to be the father to Lauren?"
Wow.
And we went to England, and I was flower girl at their wedding, grew up and had a younger sister be born and a younger brother. And in my world, I had my mom, my dad, my little sister, my little brother. And then throughout the years, I was shown these photos of my older sisters and my brother. So I grew up surrounded by love. And when I became a teenager, getting to my teenage years, I still have this strong memory in my mind of a relative from the UK coming over and showing me a photo of this little boy who was only 1 year older than me and saying, "Oh, this is your brother, Lauren. This is your older brother. You should become pen pals." And I think that was a real turning point. Of course, with hindsight, I can now start to see that not long after that experience of being reminded that I have these other siblings out there in the world, I started to get chronic pain. I experienced chronic pain for many years as a teenager. It was in the form of stomach aches. And being very young and hopeless and helpless, my parents did everything they could to find out what was going on with me, got all the different tests done, go and see all these different doctors, nights in hospital, and utter hopelessness for this struggle that I was going through. And after a number of years, finally, my darling uncle, my amazing uncle, who was my mum's younger brother, I've always been close to in my life, because when we moved to Australia and we were building our house, I actually lived with my grandparents, and he was only 18. Well, he's only 13 years older than me, but so he was going through his high school exams. And so this man, Simon, my uncle, he recommended this therapist to me. And when I saw this therapist, I connected with my inner wisdom, and I realized at a very deep level I was storing, because I hadn't thought of it consciously before, that I felt good enough, not lovable enough as I am, because my own biological father was not in my life. I created this belief, and it was creating this real pain in my body because it was stored so deeply for so long. It was my body's way of going, "Hey, you've got this shit about yourself." And it would manifest in the way I would treat myself as a teenager too, like the way I would see myself. I didn't have very much self-esteem and confidence that I could have had, because I didn't feel lovable, good enough, because my own father didn't love me enough. Like I had this thing, this man who created me this is not for everyone, right? But for me, it was like the man who made me didn't stick around. When I cleared that belief in that therapy session, I never had that pain again. That pain was completely gone and I never experienced it again. And that began my journey into the mind-body healing connection that we have.
That's such a powerful demonstration of how emotions affects our physical body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
And I know you've helped a lot of people in this area as well and worked with a lot of people in this area. And going back to your uncle, and I know your uncle as well.
Yes.
He's also been one of my trainers.
Yes, that's how I met you, right? Both of you through him.
Yeah, and he also many years ago had Awaken Awareness. I still remember the name of his NLP training program, Awaken Awareness, and he was my coach at the time. When he referred you to this therapist, was he already training NLP or was this something new for him as well?
That's a great question. Yes, he was. He must have been, because I think in my memory, or maybe it was a little bit after, but he was, okay, I know for sure he would have been doing like Tony Robbins workshops.
Yep.
So he had totally started the personal development journey. He hadn't become an NLP trainer yet.
So fast forwarding, you're now a mother and you're happily married. Has there been any residual?
Oh, wow, Stephen, awesome. Yes. Do you know, obviously your beautiful podcast here, Rewrite Your Life Story. And I was thinking a little bit about this because when I'm being interviewed, by the way, I like to come from my heart and I always just trust we're in this beautiful connection. So what I have to share will just be what it is, right? So I don't tend to really prepare in all truth, but I will say I did put some thought to, there is a question Stephen and Charlene might ask me about when did I rewrite my life story? Or maybe that's a future question, so I'm spoiling it for you, right? And it had me think, well, sometimes a person has an issue and it's a massive breakthrough, and then it might come up again later in their life. But it doesn't mean you haven't broke through for real that first time. It's almost just like a deeper test, part of your journey to go, oh, that's right, I am a different person. So to answer your question, this whole piece of, am I good enough? Can I love myself regardless of anything in my life has come up. And I broke through that, as I shared, as a teenager, to the point where I was able to heal that chronic pain. And I never had that physical experience again. But I've totally had the whole, am I good enough, come up only when I'm reaching a new level of my potential. When I'm asking of myself to do something I haven't done before, then there is a new set of life skills I need to come across. And so the whole good enough piece has come up. And very recently, actually, I've had one of the biggest experiences that showed me, oh my goodness, it's made total sense why I haven't felt good enough for a lot of my life. It's been this thing of, do I have permission to be myself? And something happened to have me realize, wow, I have not just been making this up. So I'll share. The woman before my mum, the woman who is the mum of my half brother, my older brother, when I wrote my book and she saw that I'd published this book, she actually attacked me online publicly, saying things like, we're going to come for you. You shouldn't have been born, like this kind of thing, that I was being blamed. A baby, me as a baby, was being blamed for the way my father acted. Like, bless her heart. So this poor woman has this trauma, but she's projected it onto me. I'm sharing this in all love that, oh my goodness, Lauren. And it's like, we all feel the way we feel for valid reasons. We're not human beings just walking around going, I'm going to feel shit about myself today just because I want to feel shit about myself. We actually all feel the way we do because of everything we've experienced. And I've had this woman's, and this might be a little different or woo-woo and that, but I think we're all knowing that I've had this energy coming at me then for most of my life, and family members because there is a family connection with this woman to someone I'm very close to, actually. There is still this connection there. So she's kind of still in my life. And she's only now, I've been doing my business for 17 years, only now since I've had my book. It's like this tangible book out in the world that she has felt threatened by that. But my goodness, I've got to tell you, it's been the biggest breakthrough for me around, am I good enough? Am I loved? Am I safe to be me? You betcha I am now. Like, it had to happen. We have things in our life happen and they feel so shit at the time. They're the most darkest times. And I've had a lot of other traumas happen too. These things show us who would we like to be in the process of healing that. Who can we be? Can we love ourselves and give forgiveness to ourselves to move through that and choose who do we want to be because of what we've gone through?
So powerful.
Yeah.
I hope so. Oh, cool.
That is so powerful. Lauren, you speak about those three things, and I hope I get them right. Do I love myself? No. What's the first one?
Yeah, am I lovable?
Am I lovable? Yeah. The second one?
Worthy?
Am I worthy?
And that's kind of similar to good enough as well.
Yeah.
And am I safe?
Am I safe?
Right.
How did you come to the point where you realized that these were the questions someone needs to ask themselves to move on?
Yeah, okay, great. Well, I actually have been beautifully inspired by my mentor, one of my mentors, Pip Mackay, who created Matrix Therapies, in which I have the pleasure of teaching beautiful people like you. And so what we've got is that we're all made up of 4 components: our soul, our mind, our emotions, and we are in a physical body, and our body, right? So our body's fear is survival. Like we all have, I mean, hello, it's obvious. Can we survive or not? That's the body's fear. So that comes down to safety. And a lot of our emotions as human beings, underneath all of them is am I safe? You know, like, can I survive? Sadness is a protection mechanism so that we don't get hurt again, for example, right? It's underneath the reason of, well, why don't we want to be hurt? Because we want to survive. So it's safety. So, I mean, I'm happy to share a lot of detail, but I'll just get to all of them before I go into detail because I'm so passionate about this. The body is safety. The mind is worthiness and good enough. So am I worthy? And the emotions go, am I lovable? So there's a part of us that's driven by, am I lovable in and of myself?
So each question is related to a different aspect of who we are as a whole.
That's right.
Wow.
So we have overcompensatory behaviors. So Pip has come up with this over her experience with clients and students for now 30 years, plus really, actually. She says 30 years, but I think it's more than that. And from our clients and students that I've also now taught over 1,000 people is this model, we call it Diamond and the Soul model, just makes so much sense. That lovableness makes us become people pleasers, is the shadow overcompensatory behavior, right? Because it's like, if I can make others happy, well, then maybe they'll love me back and maybe I then only will be lovable. It's not true, right? But this is what creates these behaviors in people. Can you see that we all have had them at some level?
Absolutely.
Right. The mind one with worthiness and good enough becomes perfectionism.
Right.
And the safety one is the critic, is the victim, and it's the judgmental part of us because it's thinking that it's keeping us safe. And by the way, so there's the 4th one, but the 4th one is in the light because our soul has a fear as well, but it's different. The soul's fear is, what if my life is meaningless? So we all can tap into that sometimes in our life. But the beautiful thing with this one is the solution or the overcompensatory behavior that we can play is actually still in the light. And that is to have our unique contribution and just to continue to bring ourself, our best, most happy self to our life. Because when we are happy, we bring skills, we bring in who we are to the world, we're just going to naturally help people because you're love and you're giving love to another human being.
And I think, in many of our podcasts, and maybe Charlene, you can talk a little bit about this, people have spoken about self-love, but it's really about self-care.
Right.
Which is very different to what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying, am I lovable? So there's you've got to come to a place of acceptance of who you are.
Yes.
With what you're saying. Yeah. How would you guide someone into doing that?
Yeah, beautiful. It's to be in your present self with all of your adult resources. And what I mean by that is we function as human beings from the meaning we have made in the past about experiences. So a child is making meaning about the world when they are self-referential, which means they're making everything that's happening in the world mean something about them personally. So between the ages of 0 and 7 years old, a child learns, oh, that's what money is. It's the thing of what mum and dad are talking about and how they talk about that, how they experience it, what kind of emotions do mum and dad feel and express when they talk about the topic of money. Then the child goes, oh, that's about me. Everything's about them. If when they see something negative that the parents say may be fighting, the child goes, oh, I've done something wrong. Like in my example, if my father's not around, oh, it's something to do with my lovability. But we all grow up making meaning continuously about what it means to be in this world and how we fit into it. So by the time we're adults, we're walking around as adults, but a lot of us can be emotionally children, functioning like young children in different areas of our life. Like we could be a child with money, or we could be a child with health, like not taking any responsibility. Yeah, we could be a child in a personal relationship. Something I'm becoming passionate about is when there's not equal help in a partnership, like a partner, massive generalization right now, but say like a man can be a child and expect their wife to be their mum, like to look after them. It's like, no, you've got to grow up. So if you see a man who's not being equal, helpfully in the relationship, he is emotionally stuck as a child. So we can get stuck back in our past. And the way we need to love and accept ourselves is to go to our inner children. It's like, hey, honey, I know you went through that, but you are loved. Like, I know your dad left you, but you are loved. Or I know that boy in primary school said that you were ugly, but you are loved. You're here right now with me. I know that you had money issues growing up, but now you have the choice to do money the way you want to.
Just beautiful. And I know that is the foundation of Matrix Therapies.
That's right.
Is in nurturing that child, because Charlene and I are trainers of Matrix Therapies. And did we do the trainer with you? I think it was with Pip.
With Pip. But
yeah, because that's what it was back in the day.
That we became Matrix Therapies trainers. But you were definitely there as, I think at that time, Pip was mentoring you to become a trainer of,
that's right.
Call it a master trainer of Matrix Therapies, because you train the trainers now. Yeah, because when we look at Neuro-Linguistic Programming, do you want to just explain a little bit about the difference between NLP and Matrix, if that's okay? But when we talk about Neuro-Linguistic Programming, it's a very different skill set to Matrix Therapies.
Yeah.
And it's very different as in what it does. NLP is a set of tools that we use. It's a set of communication tools. It's modeled from Virginia Satir and a few others. Do you want to just describe the key differences?
Yeah, cool. So Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP for short, is the study of our nervous system, our mind, and the language that we use to ourselves and with others, and the programming, the behaviors and the repeated behaviors that we have. It's the study of how we create our behaviors, right? And we break them down to go, if you're doing something that's not working for you, where can we make change? So NLP is very focused on what's not working and why, but it doesn't ask the question why, it goes how. How is this not working? But we all have the question of why do we do what we do as human beings? Why are we the way we are, right? But the great thing is we change that question from why to how. And as you beautifully said, we then are left with these great techniques and processes, step by step, on how to make change in all cool ways. So NLP can be very focused on the present and in the future, I guess, whereas Matrix Therapies is about going into the past and resolving your inner children and inner teenagers, right? All your past selves from the past, healing and really beautifully resolving limiting beliefs and negative emotions. And then NLP goes, cool, now here are the steps we can do going forward.
That's a brilliant explanation. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I remember one time we used to teach us that everything that we do as humans is a strategy, whatever it is that we're doing in life, whatever, like the coping mechanism or the behaviors that we have are a strategy. So I guess it's kind of almost in that light, how do we do that? So how can we change that to a different thing?
That's right. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Charlene, I love it. I love teaching you, darling, because you already had it,
Thank you.
You already know. It was so cool, both of you. And it was just because I knew Charlene, one-on-one. That was fun. That was so fun.
So, Lauren, you've had this journey of professional development and you've had this journey now that you've helped thousands of people and teaching NLP, teaching Matrix Therapies. You've written a book.
I have. Thank you. Yes.
But in the midst of it, you also became a mother to two.
Yes.
So where do you find the balance when it came to everything you do and to writing the book? People want to make changes in their life. There's probably people listening to the podcast that want to write a book. You did that, balancing two children. And I believe your eldest is only 5 or...
Yeah, she started primary school this year too. My God, that's a new world. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, so 6 years old.
Yeah.
How did you find the resources to do all of this while managing your family?
Yeah, cool question. Well, I could answer that in one word, and that's, two, amazing husband. But then that comes down to one word, support is absolutely one thing I absolutely just have to say first up. I have an incredible husband who does allow me, and I can almost get emotional. Of course, I get emotional talking about when I really tap into my love and gratitude for him. To have that support is incredible, right? So he's an amazing father and partner and allows me to go into my office in an evening. And if the kids, right, he does that. And we have this beautiful equal partnership there. And I'm just so grateful to have his support. So I would say support. And then it's about letting other things go and being okay with that. It's remembering there's a principle of consciousness that is all about dancing within restrictions, dancing within them. So it tells us that we are in a world of restrictions. We're in human form and our body can only ever do so much. Our spirit and soul has all these ideas and potential, and that's beautiful because we are connected to the infinite source. And then we have a restriction of a body. And so when we really acknowledge and think of this, we are always choosing how we dance within restrictions. We are always choosing as human beings. And we could use the word prioritize. So sometimes we think, oh, I could only do that if I had more money, or, oh, wow, they must have more money than I do right now. And it's like, well, you could let money be a restriction, or you could find a way and know you can dance within that restriction. You can let that bring out your creativity and find a way to make it work for you. If it's important to you enough, because it's priorities.
Yeah.
When, as human beings, have we ever had that time where we feel like, oh, wow, everything's hunky-dory, perfect. Now I can sit down and do that thing. Because sometimes we get caught up in this idea that, oh, well, when I finish the study, then I'll have more time, so maybe then I'll do that thing. And there's this thing, like there's a reality of going, okay, maybe I do prioritize that after the study. Or am I having restrictions stop me and using them as an excuse rather than allowing them to go, I have this priority and I'm going to dance within this and make it work for me.
Yeah, so important.
That is gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, good.
Yeah, that is gold. Wow. I think something just broke over me while you were saying that. That is real gold, because lately I've been struggling with this, especially today. So you've just trusted your intuition there, Lauren. So thank you. Because I've been struggling with so many conflicting priorities in my life at the moment, and allowing overwhelm to take over rather than dancing in the restriction.
Yeah, beautiful.
So thank you, Lauren.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad I can do that. That's right. To let you know, it means on a real tangible aspect, using myself as an example, by the time my second daughter was born, I had been talking about my book and I'd been in the writing process for 3 years, coming up to 3 years. And before her birth, I had done pre-orders where people had paid me money for a copy of my book that I still hadn't published. But it was this thing of, I am going to publish it. When she was born, there was this massive gap with the book. It wasn't finished. So it was this thing of, I have to do the book. It was like a priority more than ever. So it meant that if she was sleeping and I was able to get her to sleep on me in a wrap, then I wouldn't do the domestics of the washing. That stuff can wait. Sometimes people use, oh, I have to have all the adult responsibilities before. Sometimes we don't, guys. Sometimes you do not have to do the frickin' washing and just go into the office and do the other thing that's more important to you right now, because there will always be washing. Guess what? You can do it later or tomorrow, or maybe your partner can do it. Or if someone's listening and they don't have a partner, as I appreciate support is a big thing. But here's the thing, guys, ask for support too when you can, because I think as human beings, as adults, we're not always great at asking for support or thinking of ways where we can get support. So I'll just say that too. But yeah, I don't really do the domestics all the time. I don't want people thinking, oh, she's Wonder Woman and does all these things. No, I just actually prioritize getting my book out more than ever when my daughter was born. And thank goodness I did it before she was 1, because now the moment she wakes up, she whinges if I'm not giving her attention and crying and all the rest of it. So you'll know, and you just put your head down and get it done.
Yeah, wow. And you know what? It's not about abandoning certain tasks over the others. There is some times where you need to go out of balance to get things done. It's a healthy unbalance, but then you always come back to balance. Like there are periods of time that sometimes the pendulum has to swing to one side and then it comes back to the middle, and that's okay. Rather than seeing balance in a 24-hour period, maybe we should extend it over a 7-day period or a 30-day period.
Yeah, exactly. Like check in on the rules that we're giving ourselves.
Yeah.
And it is about the rules that we give ourselves, isn't it? Which is where a lot of our stress comes from.
Yeah. And is it stopping us from our higher potential? Or because is it just old programming that we think we should be doing it a certain way? But as you so beautifully say, guys, just rewrite the story, make the story different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just circling back a little bit before, when you mentioned that 4th part of finding that real deep self-love and those questions that you had for yourself about being in the light and what your soul's fear of, do I have purpose? Like, what is my purpose in life? Do you feel that that might be a reason why a lot of people may not have boundaries in their life when it comes to serving?
Yeah, when it comes to serving and boundaries. Yeah, what a cool question. Is that why they don't have boundaries? Because they want to have purpose? Yes, and when we still do need to learn boundaries, don't we? We need to love ourselves enough to make it work for us. When we don't have boundaries, we can't live our passion, because as a business owner, you need to have boundaries that people will pay your invoice so that you have income. Otherwise, you can't live your passion. You can't live that business. You can't continue that business if you don't have boundaries for people to pay, for example. Is one of the reasons. It's an absolute driver for people. Yeah, people get caught up thinking their purpose is to serve others to the detriment of themselves. When we see to the detriment of themselves, this is what we call a shadow behavior from the bottom triangle. There's the diamond, there's the soul at the top. We're getting stuck in the drama cycle of emotional fear, mental fear, and the body's fear. And we're caught up being people pleasers, over functioning, perfectionists, trying to have everything be perfect, and over controlling. That's the thing too, like over controlling. And then the safety.
Thank you. Lauren, what would you just say to someone that feels stuck and doesn't know where to start to rewrite their own story?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, beautiful question. A great place to start is to start with inspiration, being in your spirit. So how do you do that? Is you want to really go childlike for the moment and go, what has me come alive? What makes me really happy? What's something that will spark my heart, inspire me? And it can be as simple as like a 5-minute activity or 10-minute activity, like being in nature or watching a favorite movie, cuddling your dog. Yep. Then it inspires you to plan a holiday where you, oh, wow, I can't wait for that to happen. Listening to a song where you just dance and feel free. Because when you're in this energy, you connect with yourself. And with that inspiration comes a beautiful idea. And that sparks your quest going forward. That sparks your journey to start afresh.
Thank you. The reason why I was smiling, I remember when we were doing NLP, when we were probably before we were doing trainers training, when must have been master practitioner, that I heard you and Simon. And so me and talks something similar. And that memory came back of me and Charlene going to a park on top of the hill and rolling down like kids. So, and inspiration. And it was something we had probably not done since we were kids. And here we are.
Tapping into our own.
Right, 30-year-olds rolling down hills.
I love that.
And, that's something that you and Simon taught us back all those years ago. You definitely spoke about mentors before. And so I want to ask you, how important are mentors in rewriting your story?
And how would you know to find one? How would you find a really good mentor?
Oh, what cool question. I love it. So other people give us perspective. Pause like that because it's a bit of an understatement. I know for me, for example, even when I have so much wisdom about psychology and all of the great stuff I've been sharing, I can get caught up in my own head and tell myself these stories start to feel true and they're not. And so another person gives you perspective. I love that word. And I've been reminded of that. Just keep perspective, because when we all get bombarded with sometimes emotions of daily life and things like this. So perspective, and then higher wisdom and people who can see your potential and know how to bring the best out of you. So generally you want to go to someone who is walking a path where you want to go, so they have some wisdom and insight into where you want to be as well. That can always be helpful. And to make sure though that they're willing to see you and what's right for you, not just to give advice from their perspective or their map of the world, because we all have different journeys. And so you want to have someone who can give you beautiful wisdom, but you then will have intuition for yourself, because you can connect with your intuition when you have enough wisdom about something. Yeah, because intuition sits above logic and emotions. So you tend to need a bit of logic. You need to know about business. So you need a mentor who's done a business before, so they have the tools, right? You get the wisdom, then you get your emotional stuff sorted, like your mindset and your beliefs and your emotions all aligned and with your values, so that then I have intuition because I have what I need. Intuition is your inner knowing. So look to somebody who's willing to give you those good things, like the insight and the emotional mental guidance, and then follow your intuition. Keep listening to your inner wisdom about what's right for you, alongside a great mentor who'll bring the best out of you.
Yeah, that's awesome. As we come to a close, let's go back to the book. You've written a book and it's right here on my desk.
Thank you, because I forgot to put a copy near me. I gave it away today, so thank you. It'd be cool to hold it. I love holding it. Yeah, there it is.
Your Happy Ever After. Please tell our audience what they can expect to get out of reading your book and the journey that it's going to take them on.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So the book is the culmination of my 17 years plus in this industry of mind, body, healing and soul connection. And it's called Your Happily Ever After because it's a play on the marriage inside of ourself between our feminine energy and our masculine energy coming together. Now, I'm all for gay marriage as well. So this is not about feminine and masculine only coming together. It's about how every human being has feminine energies, like being able to receive is feminine and being able to give is masculine. And when we marry these two, we give birth to a new, higher level of our potential, right? So that's all. Also, too, in our archetype work, I have the lover's archetype. So in my soul identity is very much about love and intimate connection. So when you create something like a book or a business or an idea, the more it's aligned with you on a deep level, well, the more that's your heart and soul out in the world and will be aligned and a very successful expression of yourself. So there's a couple of reasons why my book is called that. And the first chapter explains how it's about your thoughts and your emotions coming together and loving yourself. So then there's 9 chapters, each chapter focusing on a different aspect of self-love and things like our self-talk and negative self-talk and how we overcome that. What do we do with negative emotions? We've got things like relationships with other people, your soul purpose and contribution. So that is my heart and soul on pages in my book. And I'm so happy to share it with people.
Thank you. And I will be honest, I haven't read it yet because we have one copy. So Charlene is on it, so I'll read it next. And I'm going to find it very interesting because my major archetype is the Knight and the Emperor when we did archetype work together with
right.
So that's very far from the Lover archetype.
Right.
I'm going to find it very interesting.
Because romantic era.
In the Renaissance, yeah. So you haven't really touched on archetypes. We've just spoken about that. Do you want to just tell our audience a little bit about Carl Jung's work and what archetypes are? And yeah,
awesome. So yes, we were inspired by Carl Jung, but also to the origin of the word archetype from the ancient Greeks, because some archetypal work can talk about wounded child, but we say in our archetypal work that the wounded child is actually not an archetype. It's a shadow stereotype of the ideal child. So in our work, the archetypes come from the ancient wisdom and they express a principle of consciousness. So there are 22 ways in which we can be conscious as human beings. And the first 8 are our possible passion and purpose archetypes, our soul identity. This idea that our soul chose 3 energies that when we live in them, we are most passionate, then hence most ourself, and that equals living our purpose. Because our philosophy is that your purpose is to be passionate about what you do, bring your passion, and you will authentically contribute who you are. And that is what your purpose is. It's just to be who you are at your best when you are most happy, because that's when you'll help people. And out of the possible 8 energies, there's 3 that make up you at your best. So, for example, when I know I'm in my lover's archetype, I'm having deep connection with somebody else or an idea, even a connection just to an idea. Or I'm having fun as my innocent adventurer archetype, and freedom is super important to me. Plus, with my creative nurturer archetype, I know that when I'm in one of those 3 energies, I am most myself and I'm living my purpose. And they work in an order and a flow as well. So I love the archetypal work that I offer. So thanks for asking.
That's beautifully put. So we have a couple of questions that we like to end off with. And what advice would you give to someone who is wanting to rewrite their own life story?
Beautiful. I would say to them, to you listener, if you want to rewrite your life story, it's not about what's happened to you in the past. It's about who you want to be now and who you want to become. You can choose differently. You might need help, truly helping you resolve the past, and that's beautiful and okay thing to do. And know that you are loved, you are safe to be you, and you are worthy to be who you are. And you can choose to live your passion, go out there and do something that will make you happy, because you will help others in that process as well.
Absolutely beautiful. And Lauren, if you could go back and rewrite your life story, what would that look like now?
I would say to my little girl, hey, you are good enough. You are loved. Go out there. Keep believing yourself, girlfriend. These other girls, women that you were intimidated by in high school, you're just making up stories, darling. Just be confident. You are as good as everyone else that you see. Go for it and believe in yourself.
That's beautiful. And it looks like you've already done that.
Yeah, I'm happy to say I've been living that more and more. So, yeah, very grateful.
Thank you so much.
Lauren, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. And if you want to grab a copy of Lauren's book, Your Happily Ever After, please check out the show notes and the link below. Also, you can connect to Lauren on all her social handles, and they will also be in the show notes and the link below. So, Lauren, once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. You've got an awesome podcast, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. Thanks, everyone.
Now that we've interviewed our guest, join Charlene and I as we recap today's episode. I really enjoyed that.
It was absolute gold, right?
Yeah, I got so many gold nuggets, and I love Lauren. Lauren has played a big foundation in who you and I are. And obviously, if you go back to episode 1, we haven't connected in quite a few years because, in episode 1, we spoke about us going into our little cave for a little while we healed. But the 3 key principles.
Yes, loved, safe, and worthy.
Yeah, are you loved?
Lovable.
Are you safe? Am I safe? And am I worthy enough? And I think that is the core of who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so much like what drives our behaviors in everyday life and how we behave in every situation. It's all driven by those 3 main key influences.
Yeah, and I think she brings them out so beautiful. But the one aha moment for me was dance within your restrictions.
Absolutely. We tend to forget about how to prioritize our things, how to prioritize what's important to us. Yeah. And that's when we forget to dance within those restrictions.
And like she said, restrictions are always going to be there because we're restricted by our human form. We're restricted by our bodies. So it's about finding your priorities and about finding what's good for you. And you've really enjoyed reading her book. So you highly recommend it to the audience.
Absolutely. And I think it really comes down to not waiting for things to be perfect before we live our purpose.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. We hope you found it informative and inspiring. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and share it with your friends and family. Also, make sure to visit our website at www.rewriteyourlifestory.com.au to learn more about our mission, products and services. And remember, you have the power to rewrite your own life story. So go out there, face your challenges head on and create the life you've always wanted. We'll see you in the next episode.